Today, we have the pleasure of having Professor Jit Sharma with us. Professor Sharma is the founding chair of the Department of Civil Engineering at York University in Toronto, Canada. He has more than 25 years of experience teaching at various universities in UK, Singapore, Switzerland, and Canada. His research expertise is in soil mechanics and geotechnical engineering. In this video, we will discuss the physics behind percolation of water through soils and its importance in the context of irrigation. Welcome to this video, Professor Sharma.
Well, thank you, Prati. Thanks for having me on your channel. I've been a keen follower of your channel. You're doing very good work on explaining all the methods and principles of permaculture, and I saw your videos on soil as well. They were very nicely filmed and gave a very nice overview of how important the soils are. So my objective today is to essentially, shed some light on the physics or the science behind why soils behave in a particular way and how that science can be utilized to achieve better yield and much more sustainable permaculture farm. So today I've chosen the topic of percolation, which is important in the context of irrigation, so how you can effectively irrigate your plants in permaculture. It also ties into one of the principles of conserving resources, and the resource in question is the water. So you really need to be efficient in your irrigation strategies in order to conserve whatever water you have available on your permaculture farm. Okay, so without further ado, please allow me to share my screen, and then so that I can take your viewers to some of the science behind percolation. So let's start with discussing rate of percolation in topsoil. So let's begin by finding out what exactly do we mean by a rate of percolation. It has important implications for your irrigation strategy. So let's first look at that. The rate of percolation in a broad sense is the speed with which water moves vertically downward through a layer of topsoil. So whenever you irrigate a patch of permaculture land, you're essentially irrigating the ground surface, and you hope that the water will percolate down into the plants, and that water will be made available to the roots of the plant. So rate of percolation is speed with which water moves vertically downward through a layer of topsoil. Sometimes it is also referred to as a rate of infiltration, because water is infiltrating into the soil. Because when you apply water on the surface, some of the water runs away on the ground surface itself. It basically flows away, but most of it should infiltrate into your soil. It should go into the soil so that the roots can access that water. So it's also called rate of infiltration. So your topsoil should be in a condition, or its texture, or the state of the topsoil should be such that it must allow percolation of water. If it doesn't permit water to go inside, then all the irrigation that you do for your permaculture is not going to be of any use, because most of the water will simply run away from your permaculture farm. And on top of that, that running water could also lead to soil erosion and all kinds of other problems. So, so your topsoil should be in a condition that it accepts the water that you apply when you're irrigating the soil. So this rate of percolation, it kind of depends on what kind of particle sizes are present inside the topsoil and what's the texture of the topsoil. I saw in one of your videos you talked about how we can determine the texture of the soil using soil texture triangle. So I think that's an important activity, because it also tells us what kind of rate of percolation we can expect from the soils that you have on your permaculture farm. We know, I think you've discussed this as well in your videos, that sandy soils have high rates of percolation. Water goes through a sandy soil much more easily. And clay soils, on the other hand, tend not to let the water percolate through them, because the pore structure is very, very tight. So essentially, this whole differences in rate of percolation boils down to a characteristic of soil that we call as permeability. So the rate of percolation depends on permeability. The other term that we use to describe how permeable the soils are is the term called hydraulic conductivity. You can imagine this as, if you have in the context of electricity, for example, how easily a current can flow through a wire makes it a good conductor. So similar thing we can explain. The water flows through the soil much more easily. Soil conducts or lets the percolation take place much more easily. So it's almost like a reverse of a resistance. So it represents ease or difficulty with which water can flow through the soil. Okay, so keep that in mind that this parameter is important, and it essentially governs the rate at which the water can percolate through your soil. It is also useful to imagine hydraulic conductivity as kind of time taken by water to percolate through a layer of finite thickness. Let's say you have a topsoil layer of about 1 meter thick. So you can imagine the hydraulic conductivity as a time it takes for the water to go through the soil from top to the bottom. Okay. So for example, if I let the water percolate through a meter of sand, it may take, a ballpark figure of maybe about an hour, maybe 2 hours. The soil, the water will go from the top and emerge at the bottom of this layer in about an hour or so, right? If you, on the other hand, have a silty soil, then this process is considerably slower because the hydraulic conductivity of the silt is lower than that of sand. So percolation may take place about may take about a week to go through your same 1 meter thick soil layer. It's not too bad, 1 hour is maybe too quick, but 1 week is reasonable. It takes water to go from top to the bottom for 7 days. Clays, on the other hand, right? They're so the pore structure is so tight that if you really want to allow the water to percolate from the top to the bottom of the clay, we're talking years now. So this thing might take, several tens of years for the water to move by a distance of 1 meter through a layer of clay. So you can imagine why, clay soils are not really preferred on permaculture farms, because they do not allow percolation of water to take place. So any water that you put on clay soil just sits on top. Plant roots don't get access to it, or it takes a very long time for the water to move through clay. And before it had a chance to move through, sun may evaporate that water from the top. So whatever irrigation that you did goes to waste, right? So it's good to examine this, the rate at which the water percolates through the soil in the context of hydraulic conductivity or permeability of soil. So let's take another kind of a closer look at what this parameter is, right? And how different soils have different values. So the one thing that you got to recognize is that this parameter has a huge range. You'll see in a minute what I'm talking about. I mean, you're not talking about a range of tens or hundreds. You'll see that the range is actually in billions. So here you have a kind of spectrum of almost all the soils that we see in nature. On the left hand side here you have, let me just grab my stylus here to point it out. So on this side here we have clean gravels, here, and on this side we have clays, right? So you can see that these gravels will maybe have a particle size of about 5 millimeter or so, couple of inches thick. These are the really big particle soils. And on this side here, you have clays that have a particle size of about 2 microns. So the range of hydraulic conductivity that you have is that green gravels are very good conductors of water. The water flows through gravels very, very easily. So again, you can imagine this is how many meters of water can flow in a day through gravel. So you can see here this number. If water is allowed to flow through gravels, in a day it may travel 100,000 meters. That's like 100 kilometers in a day, right? So gravels are found in nature. They usually are found in soil formation we call aquifers. These are used for pumping out of groundwater and so on, because water flows through long distances through these layers, and it's very easy for the water to flow through these layers. So the same applies to percolation. When you try to percolate water through gravel, it percolates very, very quickly. They don't retain any water, just sends all the water through. On the other extreme, we have, let me just move these to the side. On the other extreme, we have the clays, right? So in a day, the water hardly moves inside these clays. We are now talking about 0.00001 meter, right? That's like 10 microns. So in a day, the water only moves by about 10 microns. 10 microns you can't even imagine in a through naked eye. So you hardly see any movement in place. That's the entire range of hydraulic conductivities you have. What we are dealing with in topsoils are essentially loamy soils, silty, sandy loam, silty loam, and so on. They sit in this sweet spot here. Okay, so in a day in these soils, the water may move anywhere from 1 centimeter to about a meter, which is what we are looking for when you want to irrigate your plants, effectively. That's the kind of movement you should expect when water is applied at the top. You can also look at the range of hydraulic conductivity in the context of soil texture triangle, and your viewers are familiar with the soil texture triangle, so just note that. Right? You have explained very nicely how one can use soil texture triangle in combination with the jar test to find out what kind of topsoil you have on your permaculture farm. So here you can also see that there are different textural classification assigned to your topsoil depending on how much clay, how much silt, how much sand you have in these topsoil. So the range of hydraulic conductivity is that you have the highest hydraulic conductivity at the bottom left corner of your soil texture triangle. The area is occupied by sand. So if your soil is essentially all sand, then it will have very high hydraulic conductivity. If it is all silt, it will have like an average value of hydraulic conductivity, obviously less than what you would expect for sand. And clays will have the lowest value. Right? So that's the kind of a spectrum of hydraulic conductivities that you see on your soil texture triangle. So what we can see from here is that there is an increase of hydraulic conductivity as the percentage of clay reduces in your topsoil. So if you want to recondition your topsoil, you really have to get rid of some of the clay and then replace it with more sand and silt in order to increase its hydraulic conductivity. So similarly, you can see as you go from, if you reduce the clay's proportion and increase the silt's proportion, your hydraulic conductivity will increase as well. And similarly, if you go from silt to sand, the hydraulic conductivity will increase as well, right? So the soil texture triangle is also a useful way to establish what kind of hydraulic conductivity you can expect from the topsoil. So far what we have talked about is a hydraulic conductivity of soil when all the soil layers, all the pores inside the soil are filled with water. In other words, when the soil is fully saturated. Unfortunately, that cannot be guaranteed all the time, and sometimes it's actually not really a good idea to keep your topsoil fully submerged underwater as well, because not all plants like a high water environment. Some plants would like to have some air inside the soil. But from a hydraulic conductivity point of view, the moment you have some air inside the soil, the hydraulic conductivity changes, right? Because you have now air bubbles that are trapped inside the soil. These air bubbles themselves start to act like soil particles. They don't allow the water to go through. I mean, you see, as kids, we have used this soap and the air bubble blower, and you see all these bubbles that form. These bubbles, maintain their shape because there is surface tension of water, and that same surface tension doesn't allow the water to go through the air bubble. So you may have a saturated topsoil that lets you percolation take place quite easily, quite rapidly. The water can go through them. But the moment you introduce some air into the system, your hydraulic conductivity value starts to drop rapidly. Right? You can see these pockets of air here. Right? This is an air bubble here. There's another one here, another one there, and so on. Water cannot go through this air bubble. It has to burst in order for the water to flow, and that bursting is normally not possible. Water tries to take an easier way, so it goes wherever the water is. Water likes water, so it will flow towards water. So now, if you compare the path taken by a drop of water, you'll see that it went down much more straight when the soil was saturated, but it had to take a more kind of a tortuous route in order for it to reach the deeper layers. So as a result, the hydraulic conductivity drops not just by a small amount, but it can drop by as much as 1,000 times. So this has implications. If your topsoil has dried out and you want to resaturate it and irrigate it, you really have to start your irrigation rate to be very, very slow. If you have a dry topsoil, you want to rehabilitate, you have to start off by using drip irrigation, so that soil starts to gradually saturate and therefore increases hydraulic conductivity. If your topsoil has reached a stage where it has like completely dried out, then hardly anything will flow through the soil, because there's all air bubbles are blocking all possible ways in which water can go down. So here you really have to absolutely rely on very slow irrigation. What's ideal from a natural point of view is you could expect maybe a light drizzle or something. So if it's natural rainfall that you rely on, the light drizzle is actually much more effective in saturating these soils than like a big deluge, where a lot of rainfall is falling over a short period of time. Because when that kind of thing happens on these soils, the most of the water will be run off. Nothing will go inside the soil. So that's something that you got to keep in mind, that rate of percolation that you can expect governs the rate at which you can irrigate the soil. That's the message that I wanted to convey through our discussions.